Hello, nerds! I have an interesting challenge in today's video. You see, I haven't been able to beat Doors Floor 1 in the entirety of the time I've been playing Doors. So, I decided that I was going to make myself my toughest challenge yet. I made a deal with my siblings that every time I die indoors, I give each of them 50 cents. In other words, every time I die, I lose $1. And I'm going to be continuing this challenge until I beat Floor 1 with no admin panel, no revives, no anything. Nothing that's like from outside the game. No Robux. Will I be able to beat it? Or will I end up spending an exorbitant amount of money trying to beat it? We shall see. I started things off with actually a really good first run. I haven't actually played Doors very much up to this point, and yet I still did a pretty decent job, easily surviving Rush, and while I had some trouble with Eyes, I did pretty well with him as well. And while I was making extremely, and I mean extremely slow progress, I was gaining lots of invaluable knowledge about how the hotel worked. And I even made it to the first Seek Chase. As you can see, I had a pretty decent first run, but I clearly don't really know a lot of the mechanics of how this works. But I got lucky, and I figured things out, and was able to beat the first Seek Chase with little to no trouble thanks to my vitamins and lucky guesses in pathfinding. From there, I continued to explore throughout Doors until I finally made it to Figure. This particular round with Figure was one of my first, and I think my very first alone. Since I had only played Doors around 3 times up until now, and because of my lack of solo experience, this entire run was pretty much me just being super careful, taking a really long time looting, and figuring out the rhythm of the game. And honestly, I think that my purpose of doing that was really well fulfilled, even here in the library. I made a rookie mistake of opening the drawers, which I definitely should not have done, but for some reason, Figure just didn't hear me, I guess, which, you know, really surprises me. But the reality was that I really hadn't memorized Figure's patterns, and as a result, I made a risky decision, and I paid for it with my life. GG's, $1 to my siblings. No. Rounds 2 and 3 were comparatively extremely unimpressive, with me largely just going over the same old basics and taking, as per usual, an exorbitant amount of time, except this time it was really more due to me memorizing things than looting. My second run in particular was very unimpressive, as I had not memorized Rush's patterns, and as a result, I ended up making a crucial mistake and moved far too far ahead into a room without any closets when Rush was coming, and as a result, I got the second death and lost the second $1 of the challenge. In comparison, however, the third run I felt had much less of an impact, but made me kind of angry. The second run served a purpose. I was instilled ever since then with a very deep fear of Rush surprising me. The reality is that Rush is one of the most easy and predictable entities in all of Doors, and I have gained a healthy respect for the man because this guy is very difficult to deal with. No, I'm just kidding, he's not. I don't know why I said that. He's like super easy to deal with. But he is very annoying and has slowed down my progress a lot. and it took me a while to really learn to give him his space, but that second death there served to really help me to do that. From there, though, my third run was where problems really started, as I ended up starting a long tradition of taking the wrong path in the Seek Chase and dying. And this was the very first evidence of this. I will then go on to do this several more times, which we shall see. That's a pretty good summary of rounds 2 and 3, I would say. To be honest, I don't really have too much to say about rounds 4, 5, and 6. They are all pretty much the same sort of depths as the others, as rounds 2 and 3. Round 3, I ended up dying to Rush whenever I went into the Seek Chase room because I thought he couldn't go in there. After I learned he could go in there, I became absolutely terrified of him doing so. And this is another crucial step in learning to respect Rush. And after that, in round 5, I had a very similar experience with me dying to Rush yet again in another long hallway room that I had never seen before. After that, in round 6, I basically had a repeat of round 3, where I ended up taking the wrong route into Seek Chase and dying again. It looks like in these 3 rounds, I learned practically nothing from the rounds that I had gone through previously. That's $3 more to my siblings. In round 7, I ended up trying to crouch and hide down behind a table from Rush, which didn't work. And I ended up dying. In the meantime, with round 8, well, I'm not exactly sure what happened. You just take a look at the footage here real quick. And, you decide what happened here, because, I don't know what happened. Look at this, what? What the heck? Yeah, that was a weird death. I don't know, man. Round 8, I technically died to eyes, but I think it's safe to say I died to lag, actually. In the meantime, in round 9, I had the luxury of me losing the connection to the internet right as Rush came through, and I thought the best reaction would be to sit there for the next, 40 minutes and wait for it to reconnect, while Rush is blasting his noise into my ears. It was not fun. But hey, it's a disconnect, so it doesn't count, okay? Not plus $1. Let's re-go that. Sadly, whenever I I forgot what the word for reconnect was. Sadly, whenever I reconnected, I wasn't able to play the same match anymore, so this is basically round 9. That's what we're calling this one. And I was able to make it to the first Seek Chase. As you can see, very unprofessional business for me. I completely missed the door, completely missing the mark, and you know what? Seek caught me, and I died again. When will I ever learn? Well, not in round 10, that's for sure. In round 11, I made the same exact mistake again, but thought I could be clever by letting Seek go past me, as you see here. I thought this would be a perfect tactic to let him finish the Seek Chase and I would get teleported. Not how it works. In round 12, I made it to the Seek Chase again, and made the exact same mistake again. Well, phooey. In round 12, no wait, this is round 13. In round 13, I honestly feel bad for myself here because I tried so hard. I popped vitamins, managed to survive the first mistake I made, but I went to a door that didn't have a label on it, and I ended up dying, even though I made it so close, but so far. Round 13, yet another casualty to Seek. Round 14, we finally have something that is more interesting, as I encounter a new entity for the first time, Ambush. And boy, let me tell you, I was not ready. Rest in peace, me, yet again. Round 14 down. Round 15, I made it to rush, seek, yet again. And this time I actually managed to take the first door correctly. But apparently I forgot how to crouch. And I died. Like a moron. Well, that's round, what? Is this 15, 16? I think it's 15 down. And I literally rage quit. I just like flipped out. Because I forgot my keybinds. After that humiliating loss, I learned that I could not change my keybinds indoors, so I decided to give the game a nice little glow up instead and turn up the visuals. Bad decision, but hey, game looks even better now. I also got some stats up here. Of course, round 16, yet again, I make it to rush, apparently forget where to crouch. That's a silly mistake to make. Everything feels slower, and wouldn't you know it, I made the same exact mistake yet again, and rest in peace, round 16 is yet another casualty to seek. Round 17, I decided to keep the glow up, just turned it down by like, what, 1%? So Seek still looks like, I don't know what, like frickin' shoe polish. Being chased by a big glob of shoe polish shaped like a man. I tried using more meds, but the reality is that drugs can't save you. And sadly, round 17, even with the power of drugs, gave me just another casualty to a man made of shoe polish. Round 18 might be the most interesting round I've had since the round where I had Rush come into the Seek chase room. Because here, not only did I get a Seek chase, but I also got tag teamed by this little tiny girl made of darkness as she runs towards me and beats the crap out of me. So I was running like my vision blurred. Like, that's one powerful child. I tried to use drugs to win, and I actually was able to react quickly enough to get a decent bit through the Seek chase, but I was still going to end up becoming just another casualty to the great power of Seek as he touched me with one of his hands. The stupid shoe polish hands. In round 20, I learned about why some religious communities in the Middle East were accepting of Muslim rule despite not converting to Islam themselves. Oh wait, no, that's just homework. In round 20, I was doing homework and wasn't paying attention, and I got killed by Dupe. My favorite character. I totally didn't scream. I'm not scared of Dupe. What are you talking about? In round 21, I finally made it to the Seek chase again, but Rush decided to poop on my party and didn't give me the dignity of dying to Seek yet again, as he wanted a piece of me for himself. In round 22, I finally made it back to the Seek chase, and this time, I wasn't going to take defeat for an answer. I had finally done it. After dying to Seek, or before Seek, for the last 20 rounds, I had finally been able to crack the code, and I had made it through the first Seek chase. Now, all that I had to do was get to Figure, beat him, and then find out what came next, because the reality was I really did not know. After ages of journeying, I finally made it back to Figure's library. It was time for a rematch. Enter the man himself, Figure. This time around, I was calm and calculated. I slowly maneuvered around the library, gathering all of the blue books. And I finally was able to succeed. I solved the puzzle and escaped Figure's library. My first time doing it myself. And I had also beaten the Seek Chase in the same round. Things seemed great. I felt like I was on top of the world. Shortly thereafter, I found some of the only other human-like company, starting out with a previous individual we have met, Sally, the little girl made of smoke. I dropped an item for her, and she picked it up and played around with it. I was kind of scared to watch, so I ran off. And interestingly, I was able to find the first friendly company that I had seen in the entire hotel, really. A little weird red goblin with goofy looking eyes, a dead skeleton, and a weird octopus looking thing named Jeff that owns a shop. I bought a flashlight of his, but really, I had started to kind of speedrun things, and so I didn't really have much money on me for Jeff. But I tipped him, because I'm just nice like that. And after that, I left. Shortly thereafter, though, my delightful reverie was ended by a certain individual who we have already seen before, known as Ambush. I picked a very bad hiding spot from him, which is known as a bed, and he caught me at the perfect time. And so I died to Ambush. Again. What a disappointing end to a great run. Sadly, for round 23, I kind of had a bit of a fall off, and while I was running around in the first Seek Chase, fingers were able to tap me, and as a result, I guess I just had a seizure, fell into the fire, and got caught by Seek. Rest in peace, me, yet again. Thankfully, though, by round 24, it appears I had finally learned all the lessons I needed to learn about the Seek Chase, and I was able to beat it yet again. Which leaves Figure for round 24, along with whatever else comes after the point that I died. And would you look at that, round 24, I was able to beat Figure's library yet again. It seemed like I got a pretty good system for beating both the first Seek Chase and Figure's library going, and it seemed to me like things are going pretty good for me as I was able to clear the first half now without much trouble, it seemed. And would you look at that, this time I managed to discover something new. I found the infirmary. Now, I had no idea what this place even was, but I now know what it is. And I'll tell you this much, the infirmary is an absolute treasure trove. There is so much loot here that oftentimes I can't even carry all of it. As you can see here, I have too many lockpicks to even get more. I really enjoy getting to the infirmary because it is just so fun to loot. It feels like a great little space to chill out for just a moment before heading on to the hardest part of the game. And this round 24, was the very first time I found it. Then I stepped through the door and faced my greatest challenge, yes, halt. Nah, not really. But the reality was I've only seen this guy once before, and as a result, I really had a bunch of trouble dealing with him, and yeah, I didn't do a great job. I ended up sadly dying because of my inexperience, and thus, round 24 ended. Rest in peace, me, yet again, but hey, that's a new record. Despite my previous failure, in round 25, I was back for more, and I faced off against Halt yet again. Just like that, I had beaten Halt. And now it was time for the second Seek Chase. I hadn't actually known there were 2 Seek Chases in the first floor, but now I knew, as my siblings had informed me, and also there were literally like eyes all over the place. Like, it's pretty obvious there was going to be a second Seek Chase. Now, all I had to do was beat that, and then, well, I didn't know what next. This time, I had been able to beat the second Seek Chase straight away with the power of drugs. And now, I was free to continue on to who knows what next. Well, let's just say I found out pretty quickly. And thus, I found out what the gardens were, which up to this point I'd never even heard of. So, you might be asking me questions like, how well did I do in the final 10 levels of the first floor of doors? Well, Keith, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, just kidding, I'm just kidding. I do want to talk about it, actually. So, the last 10 levels of doors were quite an experience the first time around. It kind of felt like going from a pretty chill, pretty average game that I could easily master to suddenly, oh yeah, you can't just play this game with like 20% of your brain active. You have to actually think now, and you have to be careful and logical, because in the final 10 floors, you got screeches popping out, you got eyes trying to kill you by jumping you, and you got these random things all over the floor, which that meant this is literally like the first time I've had to wash the floor. Oh, my brother says they're called snares. And so it was quite a drastic change. However, after a lot of hard work, I was finally able to get through that absolute nightmare land and made it to the final door. Door 100. Wait, hold on a minute here. This can't be right. I know for a fact I died at door 92, right before 93 to rush once. I think that was where the missing footage went. Okay, so actually, disclaimer, this is run 26, actually, believe it or not. So on run 26, I managed to get through the gardens, and I made it to this crazy level. And, I did what a idiot would do whenever he doesn't want any help, and decided to flick this lever, and, yeah, I found out pretty quickly that figure appears again, and rather than, asking for advice from either of my siblings, I guess I thought it was a good idea to just wing it. So I did. I did wing it. And I know this will come to a shock. Wait, what? And I know this will come as a shock to you all, but big surprise! I died! What a surprise. One good thing I did find out, though, through this run was I found out about rifts, which made me curious about skeleton keys, so I decided to spend the next couple of runs investigating how skeleton keys flip it. In round 27, I was able to do pretty much everything else that I'd done before, and this time I had a skeleton. I tried it on this door, and lo and behold, I found a loot room. Big surprise though, this loot room never changes, and it only offers you a bunch of coins, which just turn into knobs at the end of the run. In other words, this area here is kind of a waste of a skeleton key, if you ask me. And honestly, I was more curious about the rifts anyway. Oh look, a rift! I wonder if this works. What do you know? It's not a waste, it's skeleton key. And would you look at that, there's the rifts. Now, sadly, I did not know how these work, and I still don't actually know what you're supposed to do here. I think you're supposed to retrieve an item that you put in at the end of the last run here. But I don't actually know how these work, and so I'm gonna have to figure out at a later date. Round 27, I had the absolute delightful joy of having a double rush, which I don't even think is supposed to happen, but I managed to somehow trigger rush twice in a row, and I died before I could even reach the gardens. In round 29, I got to roleplay as an old man with amnesia, as I decided to forget how figure works and die. Okay, flash question. You're in this situation. What do you do? Wrong answer. You die. There is no other answer. Death is the answer. And that's the end of round 30. So, funny story. I kind of lost the footage for the final game that I played where I actually was able to beat doors. So... No, I definitely didn't delete it, I think. Well, maybe I did. I don't know, but anyways, the total payment costs at the end of the day were $33 for 33 games, the 33rd of which I won, but I decided to actually pay an extra dollar because I had zero change, and so the total payout for me was $34, which I divided in half between each of my siblings, giving my brother... Heaven help, how do I do math? Gave my brother $17. No, that was a rhetorical question, don't answer. I was kidding, I'm smart, I think. No, I'm not, that's a joke. I gave them both $17, not $27. And thus, the amount I spent was actually less than I spend for a single trip of gas. GG's. We win these. Later, nerds. I don't outro now. Bye. Goodbye.